Good evening. Tonight, we're talking about Russia. What if I told you the West once planned to invade Russia right after World War II? This is a 75-year silent war, a long-game strategy designed to break the Russian Empire from within. The main events are subterfuge, sabotage, and psychological warfare. The playbook has been consistent poke, prod, and bleed the Russian bear until it's too weak to stand. The goal has remained brutally simple: containment, corrosion, and eventual collapse. Tonight, we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most audacious and long-running intelligence operations in modern history. It planned to systematically deconstruct it. Let's rewind to the 1950s, post-World War II. The US and Soviet Union were facing off across a divided Europe, the dawn of the Cold War. In Berlin, the CIA and MI6 cemented their partnership with Operation Gold. They dug a tunnel to tap Soviet underground cables, listening for 11 months. This operation was the first great joint venture, setting a precedent for future covert strategies. Digging a spy tunnel under Berlin sounds audacious, but Winston Churchill was already eyeing the next global conflict. In May 1945, with Europe in ruins, he looked at his Soviet allies and thought, "I think we can take them." This was Operation Unthinkable, a top-secret plan for a surprise invasion of the Soviet Union. The plan called for rearming captured German soldiers to join the attacking force. The goal was to impose the will of the West on Russia. The plan was detailed, envisioning a massive ground assault. Ultimately, the plan was shelved, but it reveals the core instinct within Western power: confrontation. It was the belief that the Soviet Union wasn't just a rival, but an entity that had to be militarily broken. After digging a damp hole under Berlin, MI6 and the CIA realized the real gold wasn't underground, but inside the Kremlin. This is the world of the double agent. Oleg Penkovsky, codename Hero, was a GRU colonel who handed over Soviet military intelligence to the West. For 18 months, he provided thousands of documents. His information shaped Kennedy's handling of the Cuban Missile Crisis. He was caught and executed. Oleg Gordievsky, a KGB officer, spent over a decade feeding information to MI6. He alerted Thatcher and Reagan that the Soviets believed a NATO exercise was a cover for a nuclear-first strike. His warning may have prevented World War III. While agencies dealt with defectors, they pursued a plan that was completely bananas. It was called Operation Gladio. The core idea: what if the Soviets invaded? The CIA and MI6 had a backup plan: hidden weapons caches and secret right-wing paramilitary armies. This was the stay-behind network: sealed containers filled with machine guns, explosives, gold coins, and radios. In post-war Europe, the CIA's Rolodex had a distressingly large section labeled fascists. A Soviet invasion never came. There are accusations that Gladio-linked assets were involved in domestic terrorism and false flag attacks. The secret army may have ended up turning its guns on its own people. In the late 1970s, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, a decision that would be a colossal blunder. For the CIA and MI6, this was an opportunity to give the Soviets their own Vietnam. Operation Cyclone aimed to arm those fighting the Soviets. The fighters, known as the Mujahideen, were secretly funded by the CIA, MI6, and Pakistani ISI. The goal wasn't to win the war for the Afghans, but to ensure the Soviets lost. It was about bleeding the bear. The game changer was the Stinger missile, a portable anti-aircraft weapon. The result? The total collapse of a superpower and decades of global instability. The war crippled the Soviet economy and contributed to the USSR's dissolution in 1991. After Afghanistan, you'd think the playbook might get a refresh. But decades later, the CIA and MI6 dusted off their favorite mixtape. In a new venue, Ukraine. Western intelligence has been deeply embedded in Ukraine for years, turning it into the premier stage for poking the Russian bear. It was about training, advising, and capacity building, teaching Ukrainian special forces how to be exceptionally good at making things go boom in inconvenient places for Russia. The real game here is creating a shadow insurgency. It's a long-term strategy designed to make any inch of occupied territory completely ungovernable. The director of the CIA himself has spoken about building a very strong intelligence capability in Ukraine, a modern battleground for an old feud. While one hand was teaching people how to weaponize drones, the other was busy with the information war. Welcome to the 21st century, where the most powerful missiles aren't launched from silos, but from server farms. The West realized you don't need to physically invade a country to destabilize it if you can just hack its collective brain. Russia became the perfect laboratory for a new kind of warfare, one fought with memes, hashtags, and data leaks. It's a silent, invisible battle for your attention and ultimately your allegiance. Then there are the cyber attacks, the digital equivalent of a special forces raid. This is where things get truly spicy. If you want to hurt a country that's essentially a giant gas station with a flag, you aim for its wallet. For decades, Russia's greatest weapon was its near monopoly on gas supplies to Europe. The West's plan has been to systematically dismantle that leverage, turning Russia's greatest strength into its most significant vulnerability. And then there's the Nord Stream incident. America, with its shale gas revolution, was more than happy to step in, sailing LNG tankers across the Atlantic to fill the void. It reoriented Europe's entire energy grid away from the east and towards the west. Let's talk about Russia. Since 2022, a mysterious epidemic of industrial accidents has swept the nation. Massive fires at ammunition depots, unexplained explosions at fuel storage facilities, and military recruitment offices suddenly developing a severe allergy to not being on fire. The official line is usually a worker dropped a cigarette. These aren't just random blazes, they are suspiciously well placed. It's almost as if someone has a map of Russia's most sensitive infrastructure and is playing a game of high-stakes, real-life whack-a-mole. Ukraine's official policy is a masterclass in plausible deniability. Western intelligence agencies are sitting in the background like proud parents at a school play. The consensus points to Ukrainian special operations forces, likely trained, funded, and equipped by their Western counterparts. It keeps direct Western fingerprints off the trigger, while still causing maximum disruption to Russia's war machine. Now, blowing things up is one thing. It's loud, it's flashy, it gets results. But the real long game, the truly insidious part of this whole shadow war, is fought not with explosives, but with information, or more accurately, disinformation. Welcome to the battle for the Russian mind, a psychological maze so complex it makes Inception look like a straightforward instructional video for assembling IKEA furniture. The West's goal here isn't just to arm Ukraine, it's to disarm the Kremlin's tight grip on its own people's reality, and to do that you need to fight propaganda with, well, better propaganda. It's a truth sandwich off, and the CIA is serving up some artisanal sourdough. The strategy is multi-pronged, like a very confusing fork. First, you have the funding of opposition media and civil society groups. These are outlets branded as foreign agents by the Kremlin, which is Russian, for people who inconveniently point out that our economy is a dumpster fire and our leaders may be pathologically allergic to the truth. By propping up independent journalism through grants, technical support, and secure platforms, Western agencies ensure a steady drip of counter-narratives flows into the Russian information space. It's like trying to inject a single drop of clean water into a vast polluted lake, hoping it will eventually make a difference, or at least make a few fish very, very confused. Then there's the more direct approach, spreading specific stories designed to sow doubt and dissent within the Russian populace, and crucially, its elite. This isn't just about posting memes on Telegram, although that's definitely part of it. This is about carefully planting stories about corruption, military failures, and the exorbitant human cost of the war in places where they will do the most damage. It's about whispering in the ears of oligarchs that their yachts aren't safe, and telling mothers that their sons are being sent to the front with 19th century equipment. It's a targeted campaign of psychological erosion, chipping away at the foundation of state-sponsored certainty, one inconvenient fact at a time. And let's be clear, this is a deeply cynical game. The West, which has had its own complicated relationship with the truth, WMDs, is now positioning itself as the global arbiter of factual reporting inside Russia. It's a bit like a pyromaniac lecturing you on fire safety. But in the murky world of information warfare, consistency is a luxury you can't afford. The aim is to create cracks in the Kremlin's monolithic narrative, to foster an environment where Russians begin to question what they're being told. It's a slow, painstaking process, but if you can get even a fraction of the population to stop believing the state-run news, you've won a major victory without firing a single shot. So, while the West is busy setting fires and mines ablaze inside Russia, there's another front in this war being fought in civilized places like suburban neighborhoods in Slovenia and university campuses in Norway. I'm talking about the global hunt for Russian illegals, deep cover sleeper agents who spend years, sometimes decades, building completely fabricated lives. These aren't your flashy James Bond-style spies. These are the people who run artisanal cheese shops or work as academics studying Brazilian politics, all while secretly reporting back to Moscow. They are the human equivalent of a software update that installs malware on your computer while pretending to fix a minor bug. And since 2022, the coordinated effort to root out these agents has gone into overdrive. It's like the world's intelligence agencies suddenly decided to do a massive spring cleaning of their national security closets. Suddenly, a charming Peruvian jewelry maker in Greece is unmasked as a Russian intelligence officer trying to infiltrate NATO. A Brazilian academic turns out to be a Russian colonel. It's happening all over Europe and the Americas. It's a synchronized global game of guess who, where the answer is always a Russian spy. The sheer number of these exposures suggests a massive counterintelligence coup, likely fueled by high-level defectors or incredible signals. Intelligence from the likes of the CIA and MI6. This isn't just about catching a few bad apples. This is about systematically dismantling Russia's entire human intelligence network abroad, a network that took decades to build. Every time one of these illegals is exposed, it sends a seismic shockwave back to the SVR and GRU, Russia's foreign intelligence agencies. It forces them to question everything. Who else is compromised? How are they being caught? Is our entire tradecraft methodology, honed since the Cold War, now obsolete? It's the intelligence equivalent of finding out your supposedly secure password 123, has been posted on a public billboard in Times Square. It's embarrassing, it's debilitating, and it makes you very, very paranoid. This ramp-up serves a dual purpose. On one hand, it protects Western security by neutralizing active threats. But on the other, it's a massive power play. It's the West publicly demonstrating its superior counterintelligence capabilities, essentially telling Russia, we see you, we know who you are, we know where you are, and we can pick you off one by one whenever we feel like it. It's a message of dominance, designed to isolate Russia further on the world stage and cripple its ability to gather intelligence, influence foreign governments, and conduct covert operations. It's a global spy hunt, and for Russia's agents, it's officially open season, and the hunting dogs have American and British accents. Right, so for decades, the heads of MI6 and the CIA were about as visible to the public as the dark side of the moon. Or perhaps a reasonable explanation for why Boris Johnson's hair does that. They were shadowy figures, known only by cryptic code names like C or Director. Their job was to stay out of the papers, not to be in them, but now things have changed. Suddenly, these spy masters are stepping out from behind the curtain and onto the stage, holding press conferences, giving speeches, and generally acting less like clandestine operators and more like slightly menacing self-help gurus. This isn't just a friendly meet and greet either. This is strategic communications, which is a fancy way of saying they're trying to sell you a story, a very specific story. When the director of the CIA, William Burns, or the chief of MI6, Richard Moore, gives a speech, every single word is meticulously chosen to shape public opinion. They openly label Russia as a declining power acting out of reckless ambition or a chronic global threat. It's a masterclass in narrative framing. They're not just providing intelligence analysis, they are actively setting the international agenda. And why are they doing this? Well, it seems they've realized that in the 21st century, the most powerful weapon isn't a missile, it's a meme. By going public, they can directly counter Russian disinformation, rally international support, and justify their own, often morally ambiguous actions to the taxpayers who fund them. It's about winning the hearts and minds of the global public before the other side can even log into their troll farm accounts. Think about it. The head of MI6 actively encouraging disgruntled Russians to spy for the UK via a public speech. That's not just intelligence gathering, that's a recruitment drive broadcast on live television. It's audacious, it's bold. This public-facing strategy turns the intelligence world into just another front in the information war, where victory is measured not just in secrets stolen, but in headlines won and narratives controlled. So after all this, the spies, the sanctions, the sabotage, what is the end game here? Is it just about containing Russia like a grumpy bear growling at its NATO neighbors? Or is the ultimate goal Balkanization, to break Russia apart entirely? This is the strategic equivalent of playing Jenga with a nuclear-armed superpower. The process could unleash unimaginable chaos. The truth is, it might be both. Containment as the public goal, and Balkanization as the unspoken fantasy. It's a chilling thought that the fate of the world's largest country is being debated as a strategic choice. So, there you have it. From secret tunnels under Cold War Berlin to the glaring spotlight of 21st century information warfare, the covert struggle between Western intelligence and Russia has been a relentless, multi-generational marathon of espionage, sabotage, and strategic maneuvering. It's a conflict fought not just with soldiers and spies, but with algorithms, sanctions, and narratives. We've seen how MI6 and the CIA have evolved from shadowy organizations planting bugs to public-facing institutions shaping global opinion. They've bled Russia in proxy wars, chipped away at its economy, and waged a tireless battle for the hearts and minds of its people and the world. It is, without a doubt, one of the most complex and consequential geopolitical dramas of our time. This isn't a simple story of good versus evil, no matter how much politicians on either side would like you to believe it is. It's a brutal, cynical game of power, played by nations with their own interests at heart. The West's actions, while often framed as a defense of democracy and international law, have involved propping up questionable allies, funding bloody conflicts, and pursuing strategies that risk catastrophic instability. It's a reminder that in the world of international relations, morality is often a luxury that few can afford. The Great Game, as it was once called, never really ended. It just changed its rules, its players, and its playing field. And we are all living with the consequences. And the game is far from over. The strategies we've discussed tonight, the cyber warfare, the economic pressure, the narrative control, the potential endgame of containment, or even fragmentation, are all still in play. The next move is always being planned in a quiet room in Langley or Vauxhall Cross, and the response is being formulated in the Kremlin. The silent war continues, shaping our world in ways we can see and in countless ways we can't. It influences the news you watch, the price you pay for gas, and the fragile balance of peace in our interconnected world. It's a story with no clear ending in sight. Ultimately, understanding this secret history is crucial. Not to pick a side, but to recognize the sheer complexity of the forces at play. It's a sobering look at how the world really works. Far from the simplistic headlines and political rhetoric, this is a story of deep-seated mistrust, strategic brilliance, and breathtaking recklessness where the stakes couldn't be higher. The clandestine war between these intelligence giants is a defining feature of our age, and its final chapter has yet to be written. And knowing all this, you might just watch the evening news with a little more skepticism. Which, let's be honest, is probably a good thing. Stay safe out there.